What is up, guys? Fire here, and I'm here with Andrew from Unity Technologies, who is going to shed a light on something that a lot of you guys are asking, and that is how to grow your mobile games. How to go from, from zero to hero to a lot of downloads. So I'm just going to first let him introduce himself.
Cool. Hey, everyone. I'm Andrew Kaspari, over from Unity Technologies. I work in a few different groups, namely one with called Game Growth, which is a program for indies to help scale their game. And I also work on bringing our Operate services into the Unity editor and building out our Unity dashboard. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to do this video, this is a really important topic and very popular one because a lot of people are asking for this, and a lot of people that I see, especially on YouTube, who want to learn, they look to create mobile games. So what can you say about the current state of the mobile market?
Yeah, it's competitive. It's been competitive for some time, and I think as the market keeps growing, I think it will remain competitive. So I think it's really important for game developers to be thinking about their games, their game development as a business, and that's why I'm super excited to be here with Fahir today, because we really preach the same message. And when we're thinking about game development and how to kind of separate yourself in this competitive market, I think something that we first want to hit on is, how do you find your niche? I think that's something that we try to tell the game developers all the time. Finding a good niche for yourself is a great way to kind of slowly differentiate yourself, but also kind of master a specific area of game development.
Yeah, because especially the part that you said about thinking about game dev as a business, of course, for people who just want to do it as fun and they don't have anything else to do. They don't want to waste time, watching whatever, but they want to actually do that as a hobby, as fun. That's okay. That's okay. That's a totally different story. But if you try to put your game out, if your goal is to get, more downloads than your grandma, than your, friends, then you need to have a plan, which is the, reality of the market nowadays.
Yeah, and to kind of like practically start that off, I think we always advise game developers to do your research, right? Like before you start building a game, if you have an awesome idea and you think it's going to be a hit game, go for it, right? Like innovative ideas in game development are always going to be the ones that stand out. But if you're looking to kind of figure out where the market stands, what kind of games are popular in the market at any given time, and then build one of those specific games or in a specific genre, market research is always a great place to start. There's a bunch of free market research tools out there where you can see top charts, games that are trending, genres that are trending, and kind of just build off of that.
And I like the fact that you mentioned about niches, finding niches, and there is basically no limit where you can go with this. There is always a niche in a niche, in a niche, in a niche, and this is something that I learned over the years of running an online business and a game dev studio and all of these things. What you will find categorizes as a niche. You will not believe it. You will truly not believe it. So don't think like if you find something, don't think about like, oh, is somebody going to like this? If this is, stupid, or nobody's going to, even look at this. Just, as you said, do research. Of course, validation is also important when it comes to finding something. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, early validation of a concept before you put a ton of hours into the game development, building out a full-fledged game with tons of levels and metagame and economy, etc. Start with your research, and before you actually launch a game, build a bunch of prototypes, build a bunch of concepts, different genres, see what kind of sticks in the market, put some games out there. You can even run some what we call click-through rate tests, which are basically just very small user acquisition campaigns that you build a very small concept, maybe one level in a core game loop. You create a video out of it, and you jump onto an acquisition platform and see, does this game resonate with my audience? Does it generate a high click-through rate? And then once you get some validation from those campaigns, then you can say, okay, out of these 10 concepts that I tried, or 10 prototypes that I tried, this one seems to resonate the best with the market. I'm going to go deeper into that one now, build out the game, add more levels, and keep testing along the way as well.
As you already mentioned, the market is competitive and it's been competitive for a while. What do you think should indies do in terms of, should they compete with big studios? Should they try to, just move beside them? What should, how can they stand out in front of, big players like King, like Supercell, or any other in that genre?
Yeah. Um, the first thing that comes to my mind is the speed at which smaller developers can work is a lot faster than the larger companies. Of course, the larger companies have a lot more resources. They have much larger teams to build the games out. But their process for building and launching games is actually much slower than what an indie developer can do. So take advantage of that. The speed at which you can develop prototypes and concepts, get them out onto the market, validate, build the game further, et cetera, is so much faster than these bigger companies. Of course, it also comes down to what the goal of the game developer is, right? If you're looking to get published by a larger studio, that's one path. If you're looking to go on your own and launch a game and find success on your own, of course, that's another path. So I think having a strategy to start with, testing a bunch, moving fast, those will all benefit you as a game developer.
In terms of testing, what I have to say is, because a lot of people are scared to invest from the very start in terms of testing the click-through rate, because it does require, running ads and so on and so forth. I also advise, and I talk about that a lot on my YouTube channel, to actually start a YouTube channel. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not good with filming. It doesn't matter. That's another thing. And connecting it with what Andrew just said in terms of indies versus big companies, that's another thing that indies have that they have and the big companies don't have. This indies can connect with their audiences. You can test your game, you can validate your game through devlogs, through videos where you actually introduce the game, and you will see people commenting. They like this, they hate that, they think you should add that, they think you should remove this, and so on and so forth. And eventually, if you have a small demo, you can also share it with those people, which is a really good thing to do, especially if you don't want to invest early on into just putting a demo out there.
Yeah, for sure. And so Unity has a huge, vibrant indie community. There's forums out there. There's a lot of indies that are out there that can you can reach on our platform as well. And I think the indie community is so vibrant and so large that taking advantage of that before you spend $1 on user acquisition or these click-through rate tests totally makes sense. Maybe a weekly YouTube video of, these are my 10 concepts that I'm trying, or prototypes that I'm trying. You're looking for feedback before you actually, start building them out. That's an awesome idea.
Another, let's say, a trend that I see among people who want to jump into game development is, well, we already know, the hyper casual stuff. So what do you have to say about that in terms of hyper casual games? What they should be, how they should be created, what should an indie look into when he is creating a hyper casual game in a sea of hyper casual games nowadays?
Yeah, for sure. The hyper casual, I still think is a highly viable market for sure, because they're faster to create. And going back to the previous point that I made about the speed of development is super important. Getting games out onto the market faster. Hyper casual games are much easier to create. And they really resonate with that point of prototype testing, concept testing, early validation. And then when something works, have specific metrics in mind when you're building hyper casual games. There's a lot of data out there on minimum D1 retention, minimum D7 retention, minimum, play lengths. And as you hit those KPIs in your game, like, okay, cool, I reached the threshold of a solid hyper casual game. Now I can double down and grow this thing. There's a bunch of resources out there. The other thing with hyper casual that I think is quite important is, there's a lot of articles out there as well on the concept of hybrid casual. And I think this is going to become more important as there's a lot of unknowns in the world coming out today related to privacy and the impacts that may have on ad revenues. But hybrid casual games are a bit of a twist on hyper casual. They take the core hyper casual gameplay and they add a bit of metagame. They add a bit of economy. They include in-app purchasing to it, and they try to build a more long-standing game as opposed to hyper casual games that are really just about getting players through. So do your research on hybrid casual. It's a growing industry, and I think it's a way to kind of diversify the hyper casual strategy as well.
Yeah, and what I find good about hyper casual games is exactly what you said. They are small games. You can prototype them quickly and publish them. But what's good about that is that if you see a potential in a hyper casual game that you published, there is always room for improvement. You can always scale it. You can eventually create something that's a lot larger than a hyper casual game based on that small topic. Like we have a lot of, game jam games that became hits, and we saw that and see that a lot. So that's also one thing to think about. Another thing to think about is exactly what you mentioned. So in terms of sustainability, because even if you love doing something, which is important, I talk about that a lot. If you need to love this in order to do it, but you also need money to sustain yourself. So how can indies, or what do you advise in terms of monetizing? How should they implement ads? How should they implement in-app purchase? How can they complement with each other? Because the fact is that a lot of game, and I'm still surprised that even big studios do that. Any game that you open, you must play with your connection off, because ads are popping up like crazy, more than on YouTube. So what do you advise in terms of that?
Yeah, there's a starting point, right? And we've been a champion of rewarded advertising for quite a long time. I think the underlying point there is that it should be built into the game. It should feel like a natural part of the game. So instead of just tossing a bunch of ads into the game willy-nilly, you can figure out, okay, let's just say I have a currency in my game and I use that currency, very basic currency, to progress through the levels or buy basic items. If you realize that your players are getting stuck, this is just one example, by the way. If you realize that your players are getting stuck in a specific level, and that you need to utilize currencies to get past that level, that's a perfect opportunity for rewarded advertising. So, if I think about monetization, there's kind of three buckets. Let's just call it interstitial advertising, which just basically pops up the ad with no user prompt. Rewarded advertising, which requires the user to take an action, say, I want to watch a video for 2x coins or whatever. And then, of course, in-app purchasing. Interstitial ads are great. I think they actually fit the hyper casual genre very well, but I would be very mindful about how you utilize them. They should be, for example, after a level. They shouldn't happen in the middle of a level, right? It seems logical, but I've seen a lot of games out there that just kind of pile on these interstitial ads. Rewarded ads you can use a little bit more, in different parts of your game. On the home screen for a daily login bonus. After a level to revive, once a day to 2x your coins, or once every X number of hours. So there's a lot of different, innovative ways that you can use advertising. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, don't forget about in-app purchasing. Especially as this hybrid casual, more mid-core game starts to grow, building out a good, strong economy in your game is really important. In-app purchasing is all about getting people to, pay for in-app purchases. And what they're really doing is just purchasing something to make them, to allow them to play the game easier or to progress through the game faster. And so there needs to be a reason why they want to do that. And so having a strong economy in the game, making sure that your game is balanced and difficult enough to where they kind of have to make purchases or watch ads to progress. Those are all part of the kind of broader monetization strategy.
Very nice points you made there. Very nice points. And the most important one is, as you said, make all those things, everything in regards to paying, to in-app purchase, to ads, be part of a game. Don't make the user think, oh, another ad. Make him think, oh, another opportunity for me to grow in the game, to get this, to get that. That way you will basically, people will ask you to display ads to them, which sounds weird, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I believe you covered everything there is from zero to validating to monetizing. you mentioned one thing that I would like to review, and that is, as you said, you know, one path is to do things on your own, another path is to find a publisher. And in these terms, I want to mention like your growth program, which I found amazing. If you can say a few words about it, because when I first saw it, I said, I don't believe this, but then I saw it's true, because, you know, the market is so predatory in terms of publishers. I'm not saying every single publisher is like that. There are good publishers, but there are also people who want to take basically 80% of your earnings. You don't own any rights to your game. You basically build something for them, and that's all there is to it. So can you say a word or two about your growth program? Because I really think it can help indies out.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words for sure. So yeah, we launched the Game Growth Program in October of last year. It's essentially a program for indie developers to be able to apply for three things. One is funding. You know, we realize that funding is a super important part of scaling a game studio and scaling a game. So you can apply for user acquisition funding through the program. You'll also get access to a team of dedicated game experts. These are industry veterans that will be fully dedicated to your team and your studio, and you can almost think of them as an extension of your studio. And last is access to our technology. So we utilize a lot of our own technology here at Unity for the Game Growth Program, and so you get full access to that tech. And we help you with the integrations and how to build it into your game properly. It's an open program. It's all on the Unity dashboard. You can just maneuver over to Game Growth and hit the apply button. We try to take a slightly different approach to the program compared to the rest of the industry, in that the game remains yours, your studio remains yours. You will remain an independent studio throughout the time. We're here to basically just augment your team, augment your studio, help you grow, and then in an ideal world, we see you grow, without us, so to say.
Yeah, thank you very much. I definitely encourage everybody watching to check out that program. I'll put a link down below. And that pretty much sums it up. Thank you for taking the time to do this video. I really look forward to do another collaboration, because this is some valuable info directly from Unity, from the team itself. So not something that we see every day.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the time, and I'd love to go deeper. Like, we can talk all day about these topics and go much deeper. So I look forward to kind of hearing what the audience wants to hear more about, and then we can of course follow up with deeper dive videos on specific topics.
Yeah, so
thank you again.
Yeah, so you heard Andrew. Definitely comment down below what you would love to hear about more in depth, or other things that we didn't cover that you actually want to hear about and know and how to do. So yeah, thank you for watching, and Fire here from awesomedudes.com. I'll see you guys in the next video.